Welcome to MarcusG.tv. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I'm a chef on a mission. Today's mission is salmon. Is it farmed? Is it wild? What does ocean-raised salmon actually mean? True story. My mom just calls me yesterday and says, I've got some salmon that you might want. The neighbor gave me some salmon because they work at this community project center, where they serve meals, and there's this extra salmon. She goes, she has several whole fish. And I said, but Mom, it's first of all, I don't want to take it for the restaurant, and second of all, it's probably not wild anyway, and you probably shouldn't be eating it anyway. She goes, no, it's wild. I said, really? I said, how do you know that? She goes, because they told me it was wild. They told me it was from the ocean. And I said, the neighbor said it's from the ocean. She goes, oh yeah, the neighbor said this is the really good salmon. It's from the ocean. It's clean. And she goes, the neighbor just telling me all this good stuff about it. And I'm like, okay. I doubt that it's wild salmon, Mom. I doubt they're just giving away these big wild salmon fish. The way she was describing it was like a big fish. I said, I just doubt that there's this extra expensive wild salmon around that just, like, oh, here you go. There's a wild salmon fairy just giving it away to people and have it at your house. And this could happen. I said, I doubt that's the case with wild salmon. I said, maybe cheap farm-raised salmon. Yes. And she goes, no, this stuff is the real stuff from the ocean. Here's how I broke it down. First clue, she tells me it's head-on. When you buy head-on salmon, the typical way to catch salmon, or the cheaper salmon in Alaska, because you do have a couple different price levels of Alaskan salmon based upon the species, based upon the season, and based upon how they catch it. The majority of salmon are actually caught with gill netting or netted. So what happens is you have nets that have a certain hole size in them, and the fish swim along because the gill nets are dropped like a wall. The fish swim along, get into the gill net, and get caught and can't get back. And they get beat up because they're just beat up and they're trying to get out of this gill net. The heads are beaten up. So what happens is when you go to market these, you can't market fish that are bruised and the heads are damaged and this and that, so they take the heads off the salmon. When you see a head-on salmon in the store, most likely it's going to be farmed salmon because they have control of how they catch it. And they're not sitting in nets for hours, in a gill net and beating themselves up. Now, there is another way called trolling in Alaska, or when they catch wild salmon, where they do one hook, one line, back of a boat, and they catch nice big salmon. And that's called line caught or troll caught. And with that, you're getting the salmon out of the water with one hook, one line, and the head's not getting beaten up. So then they will actually keep the head on in certain instances. So I said, okay, chances are heads on, it's a farmed fish. If it's wild, chances are the heads will be off unless it's a really expensive wild fish now. So now we're taking it from cheap farmed to a wild entry level to now to an expensive wild, much more expensive wild salmon if that's the case. Like, this is going to be a king salmon, this and that. And so I tried to explain to my mom. I said, Mom, you have to break down the word ocean. This lady's claiming it's from the ocean. I said, where do you think they farm salmon? My mom goes, well, she was really confused by this. I said, Mom, salmon farms are in the ocean. So technically, all the salmon out there, so salmon farms, I said, Mom, salmon farms are in the ocean. Wild salmon is in the ocean. So for someone to say this is from the ocean is so misleading to think this because it's from the ocean, that it's just pure wild salmon out there. And, I know there's a lot of you that are going to say, well, the ocean's not clean anymore. And I know that. The oceans are not clean. You have Fukushima. You have all these other things. I'm just trying to tell you the difference about how to tell the difference between wild versus farmed and the clues that I use. So I said, Mom, I'm going to come over and look at this salmon. She goes, oh, it looks so good. It's so beautiful and this and that. I go over and I look at it as the pictures are scrolling through this video. Take one look. I said, Mom, look at the huge fat lines. Look at that color. I said, this is by 100% guaranteed farmed salmon. They were giving away farmed salmon at this place. But the whole point to this video is people you focus on buzzwords. And companies know how to say buzzwords. Hidden Forge Salmon from Faroe Islands, which is a farm salmon company. You go on their website and it says raised in the wild. And it has these beautiful pictures of the wild ocean there. And the pens way back in the distance, sitting in the ocean, in the bays. Well, of course, they're raised in the wild. They're raised in the wild, just in a cage. So you take this cage, and it's like taking a tiger. saying we're going to let it live in the wild. We're going to let this tiger live in the wild and build a 1,000-square-foot cage and stick it out in the middle of in Africa, right out in the middle of the field. But the tiger can only go around, 1,000 square feet, 800 square feet, whatever it is. And they can say, oh, well, the tiger's in the wild. The tiger's around the wild. The tiger can see the wild, but the tiger's confined. Ocean-raised fish are confined fish. You're not free to roam the ocean, these farms. It's all part of marketing, people. That's what it is. So next time you go to a restaurant, they say, oh, it's from the ocean. Why wouldn't it be wild? The problem why it wouldn't be wild is because you probably can't afford to buy real wild salmon. You probably don't know the difference, and you probably just don't care. And a lot of chefs are like that. Oh, it's from the ocean. Maria Loy, famous celebrity chef, the Greek chef. I had a conversation with her on the phone. Swore her salmon was wild because it was from the ocean. It was from the Atlantic Ocean. That's a whole nother topic there. I have plenty of videos on Atlantic farm-raised salmon and the different types. As soon as you see the word Atlantic, it's automatically farm-raised. There's no real commercial catches of Atlantic salmon to go to, especially go to restaurants. So she was like, I have this ocean Atlantic wild salmon. And I'm like, no, you don't have that. You're not serving in your restaurant. You're not serving 100 portions of this a night. It's not something that's realistic. You're not doing this. So even top celebrity chefs are tricked by this. And as a chef, it's a chef's responsibility. It's a restaurateur's responsibility to have the menu truthful and list what's on your menu and be selling what you have. Go to my foodfraudtv.com website. You'll see a lot of videos on salmon there, on grass-fed beef, on diver scallops, on a bunch of other things, all regarding food labeling, food laws. So, turns out my mom had a farmed salmon from the ocean, like everybody else out there. It's all farmed. It's all from the ocean. So, there you go. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. I hope this video was helpful. If you care about the salmon that you eat, or if you want to eat better salmon, hope this really helped. If you like my videos, please hit like, subscribe to my channel, and definitely pass it on.